How to support someone struggling with depression and anxiety. As we continue to cope with the mental health issues resulting from prolonged stress, anxiety, and social isolation of the pandemic, it is more important than ever to be able to recognize troubling symptoms and understand how to support someone close to us who may be struggling with a mood disorder or an anxiety disorder. In today's times, according to mental health experts around the world, the global pandemic has left many people struggling and in a mental health crisis. It is important for us to recognize that the rates of anxiety and depression are increasing by the day. When it comes to dealing with depression and anxiety, recognizing and understanding symptoms and knowing how to effectively support those who are close to us is critical. Symptoms of depression and anxiety can range from mild to severe. Severe levels of anxiety and depression can limit, hinder, and impede functioning and propel those who suffer into a downward spiral. Many people worry, catastrophize, find themselves overwhelmed with symptoms, and they try to bottle them up and try to keep moving forward, but this causes more hurt and harm than helping us move forward. In order to support people close to us who may be struggling, it is important for us to understand what depression and anxiety is and how they show up and how you can support someone close to you who may be struggling and suffering. Understanding how depression and anxiety show up. We all recognize and empathize with a broken limb, a severe cold or flu, or other serious mental and physical illnesses. But many of us don't know how to feel comfortable and confident when it comes to supporting those that we care about with mental health concerns that are a little bit more severe. When it comes to our own mental health and the mental health of others, it is important for us to start paying more attention to our symptoms and understanding a better understanding of mental illness, how it shows up, and how it plays out in your lives and in the lives of people you care about. Plus, it is important for us to understand the symptoms so that we can help ourselves and help others so that we live a better life and we don't impact others in a negative way. Depression. Serious or clinical depression is defined as a prolonged period starting with 2 weeks of low mood, a loss of interest in activities and pursuits, changes in appetite, eating too much or eating too little or not at all, and changes in sleep routines, sleeping too much, too little, broken sleep, or not at all. People struggling with depression also suffer from a decline in memory, concentration, libido. They can also become increasingly irritable and choose to isolate themselves from others. They can start beginning to feel a sense of hopelessness and worthlessness in life, engage in dark thoughts, and ideate on escaping from life. Many of them have a lot of self-dislike and are hard on themselves. Someone suffering through these symptoms long-term, more days than not, suffering over a 2-year period with similar symptoms to depression, is suffering from a more chronic and persistent form of depression called dysthymia. Anxiety. Anxiety involves a cluster of overlapping troubling symptoms. They feel restless, tense, and unable to control negative ruminations. They are overwhelmed, fearful, nervous, and hypersensitive. They become pessimistic, full of dread and self-doubt, and they lose their ability to control racing negative thoughts and ruminations. As with people struggling with depression, they may isolate themselves from people and activities that bring them joy, and they can experience changes in sleep and appetite and become increasingly irritable and difficult to be around. We need to understand an inability to recognize symptoms. People in the throes of their severe depression and anxiety are overwhelmed. They're unable to recognize their symptoms as troubling and problematic, and many times when people are in their pain, they spill over onto others. They are unable to see the negative impact they are having on others or their troubling symptoms on other people's lives, and they sometimes are unable to understand and appreciate the effect of their symptoms they're having on their workplaces, their family, their friends, their children. It is important for you to understand that when you have contact with someone who's struggling with depression or anxiety, that we need to have compassion that they may be suffering, but they may not realize the intent of harm that they are causing to themselves and others, and that they are unable to see beyond their pain and suffering and simply spilling over onto others in pain. It is our responsibility to help others that are suffering. When we recognize and understand troubling symptoms in someone close to us, we do have a responsibility to that person, especially when we care about them, to let them know that we are concerned. The first step to treatment is always awareness. And sometimes the awareness comes from people noticing symptoms in you. We can approach them with respect and talk to them about the changes we see, share insights on what may be going on, and help them by offering companionship, support, and company, or assisting them in finding the professional help they need for resources and treatment. It is important to remember that while we are supporting someone who is struggling with depression or anxiety, that we care for ourselves too, and we do not assist others at the expense of our own mental and physical health, because then we cause our own family and friends pain and suffering. People struggling with depression and anxiety can feel hopeless, lost, and they feel as if they're in an uncontrollable downward spiral. They often are immobilized by their condition and unable to see and help themselves. It is important for those close to someone who is suffering from depression and anxiety to get involved. We can reach out, talk to them privately in a caring manner, and offer support. Reaching out to someone who is struggling can make a world of difference. It can open the door to a positive change through intervention, treatment, and healing. Please remember, the responsibility of the person who is suffering from depression and anxiety is there too. Just as we have a responsibility to assist someone close to us if we notice it, those people with anxiety and depression, once they know they have symptoms, also have a responsibility to themselves and others around them to seek the support and help they need to get beyond their depression and anxiety. Ultimately, the decision to seek treatment and responsibility and heal is an individual one. It is important for each and every one of us to recognize that we need to take charge of our own lives and our own treatment once we are aware that we have symptoms that are bothersome and impacting others as well as our work and our life. Our highest and best. We are really here to live our highest and best lives and help those around us to do the same. Learning to recognize the symptoms of anxiety and depression and how to intervene when somebody we love is suffering is key to fostering good mental health and maintaining caring and compassioning relationships with the people close to us. Let's take a mindful moment right now, taking an inhale in and out, and focus on understanding and paying attention to people around. Have you been exposed to people with depression? Have you yourself struggled with mental health issues? How would you have liked people to intervene? Let's take a mindful moment to reflect on our own place of health as well as people around us. Are there people that you need to intervene and talk to or be compassionate as they're struggling right now? Let's take a mindful moment to absorb some of the information we speak about today. Let's take a deep inhale in and breathe out. Another deep inhale in and breathe out. And let's take this mindful moment to reflect on supporting someone with depression or anxiety and other mental health issues. If your mind tends to wander, gently bring it back and focus on your breath and allow yourself to focus on the topic. And as I welcome you back, I'm just going to remind you of the 5 steps to supporting someone struggling with anxiety or depression. People suffering from depression or anxiety are often overwhelmed and unable to help themselves. Always remember this. Reaching out and offering support can make a world of difference to somebody close to you. But just make sure you take care of yourself in the process of taking care of others. Educate yourself about the signs and symptoms of anxiety and depression. That way you can recognize it in yourself, but you can also recognize it in others you love. Reach out when you notice troubling changes in behaviors or routines in somebody close to you. Offer them companionship and encouragement, as many people suffering with symptoms have a tendency to feel isolated and alone and kind of push away people. Encourage them to seek help, professional help, and continue to support them in the work to heal. Remember, each and every one of us have a responsibility to care for ourselves as we care for others. It is important to care for yourself while supporting others. Please be in check with your own symptoms of anxiety, high stress, and depression.